welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet, the daughter.
Hello, that must make me Kevin the dad.
Why, yes, it must. And since yesterday was Dad's birthday, as a sort of an unofficial tradition around here in that we've only done it once before, if the podcast falls on or just after your birthday, you get to pick what we listen to. And Dad picked Cream of the Crust by the Upper Crust.
And the reason that I picked them was because I figured, well, I wouldn't have to do a lot of background work. Because I assumed, well, gee, it's my turn. I get to pick it, so Juliet will do all the grunt work. Nope.
No, but I did it when it was my birthday, and we did Traveling Wilburys. I did the grunt work for that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, we'll have to do that again.
Fair's fair. All right, so Dad, what do we need to know?
We need to know that Boston's The Upper Crust first started off as the Clam Diggers.
Oh, boy.
Which was a yuppie hard rock band. The members wore polo shirts, pink sweaters tied around their necks, whale or anchor print khakis, and Sperry topsiders.
Okay.
At the time, the members were Nat Friedberg on guitar and vocals, Ted Widmer also on guitar and vocals, Dave Fredette on lead guitar, Mark Mazzarelli on bass, and Jim Janata on drums. In 1993, they went for an 18th century look and adopted appropriate stage names. Friedberg became Lord Bendover, Widmer was Lord Rockingham, Fredette was Le Duc Distortion, Mazzarelli was, this is my favorite probably, Marquis de Rock, a.k.a. Marquis Mark, and Janata was drummer Jackie Kickassis. They recorded their first album, Let Them Eat Rock, in 1995. Mazzarelli left soon after. He was replaced by Chris Cody, the always sneering Count Basie. Now get this. Ted Widmer left after the band's second album, The Decline and Fall of the Upper Crust. He went on to be a speechwriter in the Clinton White House.
Whoa!
He was also a historical consultant to Bill Clinton when Bill wrote his book, My Life.
Oh.
And Widmer was also a historical consultant to Hillary when she wrote Hard Choices. Now, Ted Widmer also went on to become the director of the John Carter Brown Library over on the East Side.
Oh, my God.
The Brown University Library. And he then became assistant to the president of special projects at Brown.
Okay.
I'm not sure how far back that goes. I couldn't find any dates, but that was
impressive.
his correct path.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the band put out a double live set called Entitled in 2000. And Once More Into the Breaches came out in 2001. A best of Cream of the Crust, which we'll be reviewing, came out in 2006. Revenge for Imagined Slights came out in 2009, and their last album, Delusions of Grandeur, came out in 2017. A post from December 2018 on their band's website said that the band was on indefinite hiatus. And a little over 6 years later, they still are. Now we're going into 7 years. So I think it's pretty much, they've called it a day.
Okay.
The Upper Crust referred to their music as rock and rogue. And we spell rock R-O-C-Q-U-E.
Q-U-E.
Yep. Their music is 70s rock. 1770s, that is. On one hand, they could be looked on as a one-joke band, and yet they were able to make a career of it for 20 years.
That's pretty good.
Because they knew what they were talking about regarding their subject matter, and it also helped that they rocked. Their sound and their somewhat tasteless lyrics in some songs are heavily influenced by AC/DC, though Lord Bendover does beg to differ that AC/DC had been influenced by the Crust since...
The Crust came first.
Had been around since the 18th century.
Oh, excuse me.
So that means they've been eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since 2018, though since they've been around since the 18th century, they could have been eligible the first year. Anyway, as for me, I first became aware of them from Andy and Shifty Carl during my Whole Foods days. And Shifty Carl told me that the guys also had a side project called Zamboni.
Huh.
You know the machine that cleans the ice?
Yeah, everyone does.
And I said, was it songs about hockey? And he said, it was songs strictly about driving the Zamboni.
Okay.
That's kind of limited, but
Yeah.
apparently they got some mileage out of that for a little while. Anyway, I found some of the Crust's videos on YouTube, and I decided, okay, I'll get their best of from Amazon. I did get to see them once at the Met Cafe in Pawtucket on January 31st, 2015. I had to do some deep digging to see if I could come up with the date because I thought it was more like 2019 that I saw them, but...
Oh, no, there's a bootleg of that up on YouTube for one of the songs.
Oh, okay, from the Met?
Yeah.
Huh. And when I saw them, they were decked out in their powdered wigs, their finery, their frippery and foppery, and high-heeled shoes, like the ones with the clunky heels.
Yep.
And, I mean, for all the jumping around on stage they did, I was just impressed that they didn't trip over any wires.
They probably had practice.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
Count Basie sneered through the entire performance. The man just has contempt for playing with the rabble. And also, you know what? Like metal shows or hard rock shows, like the audience will do the devil horns.
What'd they do instead?
Well, you know, they make the fist and they have the index and pinky fingers extended. At the Upper Crust show, the audience, and I must admit, I was proud of them, we did that sign, but just with the pinky extended like drinking tea.
Oh, my God.
Because that, my friend, is class. It's very high class.
Sure.
It was hysterical. You had all these people going...
Thrusting their arm in the air with one finger.
Waving the pinkies in the air. And there were two opening bands that came on. One of them was called the Viennagram, and they were just one of the most amazing acts I have ever seen. They actually played the BRU Rock Hunt a number of times. I don't know if they ever won it. I think they probably should have at some point. It was visual. They had their own sound. It was just, could not take my eyes off the band. I don't know if they have anything online. I'm not sure.
Okay.
The second band was this generic grunge by the numbers group called either the Disturbed or the Disgusted or the Disappointed or...
The dis something.
Yeah, and the Delusional, the Deluded, I don't know. It began with a D, but they just did not belong on the bill. But maybe someone knew something. And now a little peek behind the screen of how we podcast. Usually when when Juliet picks the CD, I'll take a photo of the track listing and text it to her, and she'll go on Spotify or YouTube to get all the songs.
Yep.
But in this case, I had to give her the actual CD as she had trouble finding almost all the songs.
Yeah, pretty much.
So let's dive into this, shall we?
Yes, let's. Speaking of diving into things, the first track is Once More Into the Breeches. Any Shakespeare nerd or English teacher can tell you the title is a play on Once More Unto the Breeches from Henry V. I had to do that speech at Rick. Only in this case, the breeches are literally someone's pants. And if you're into English period pieces, this gives the vibe of the cat who is constantly whoring and drinking. And yeah, this is just basically a car sex song, but it's a horse and buggy instead. And once you understand that vibe, you got the rest of the song. I also swear that I could hear a little bit of Led Zeppelin in this song, but I might just be thinking of ghosts of episodes past. Okay, opening.
Huh, okay. So it opens with a guitar sound that you swear you've heard in some AC/DC song.
I thought it was Zepp, actually.
Then the bass and drums kick in, and the guys are singing in the background One More Night, and then you're sure this has to be an AC/DC song. And Lord Bendover opens his mouth, and he doesn't sound like Bon Scott or Brian Johnson, but his voice does have grit. And he tells us, see, this was the impression that I got. This was kind of like their version of Hey Hey with the Monkees, where like they're coming to your town. He's got his coach and four, which is a carriage pulled by four horses.
Yep.
And he's here the Rocky One More Night, and he can leave knowing that you've been culturally enriched. And he talks about like how he's getting ready. He's got to put on the powdered wig, puff his nose, and yes, get into the breeches, which I had to look up to see what exactly are those. And breeches basically are pants that go from the waist to the knees, and then from the knees below, they've got the stockings and the shoes.
Yep.
But I always heard it as like, you know, we're coming to your town to culturally enrich you, so get ready. And Yes, this is vastly different from Hal's Once More Unto the Breach, Dear Friend speech. And it really rocks hard, and it's just a great opening song for this set.
Next track, Tell Mother I'm Home. Fun fact, this song was apparently used in the soundtrack for the Cartoon Network show codename Kids Next Door. Now, a local finds out that the lady he's been courting is seeing another beau and he returns home. A local fop, I should say. This is just insult to injury for him as he was recently sent away to the seaside for his health, and we as a society need to bring that back as a concept. I'm being sent away to the seaside for my health. I'm going to Newport for a week. I'll see you guys later. You know, taking the standard rock archetypes and putting them into an 18th century setting shouldn't be as fascinating as it is, but it really is when you hear the rock and roll instruments being played to talk about 18th century courtly love. It's fascinating.
Well, and the other thing when I was doing some research is Lord Bendover said that originally he and the guys were studying chamber music.
Oh, okay.
Until one day
What?
they found steam-powered instruments
Okay.
in the garden, and they picked them up, and they knew that they were born to rock.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, Tell Mother I'm Home. Our Lord is on the polo grounds trying to impress a lady, but alas, she has found another beau. So what can our Lord do but decide to take tea in his room? And so the servants must tell Mother that he's home. And he has two more situations where, again, he must have the servantry tell his mother that he's home, because whilst Father does not understand, Mother does. And again, this rocks hard, and it's over and done with in less than 2.5 minutes.
Next.
As it should be.
Sorry.
No problem.
Next, Eureka, I Found Love. Apparently this song was used in Guitar Hero. Now, for context, I wanted to be sure I found the right version because there were a lot of instrumentals and the song was nowhere to be found on Spotify, and I forgot to go back and listen to this one when you gave me the CD because it had been so long ago. So I found a concert bootleg, but the words were really hard to understand, although the title came out crystal clear and it sounded like they had some interesting harmonies. So I can't review the lyrics and only say the music was okay. Dad, you can take it from here.
Yep. So Lord Bendover has told us that he studied the classics, but she has classic lines that makes him say, Cogito ergo sum.
Yep, I think therefore I am.
Yep. But you don't have to be a scholar to know when to holler, Eureka, I found love. My favorite line is, you tore him up like Euripides.
That's good. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Next track, Rock and Roll Butler. I think this song is a tribute to all the people who work behind the scenes in the life of the rock star. And it's actually a tribute to 3 types of people. The butler, the maid, and the chauffeur. I guess today that would be the roadie, the housekeeper, and the driver.
Yeah, I suppose.
The opening was a nice gentle beginning, which is good when you're tired on a Tuesday morning, which was when I listened to this. But even when it kicks into high gear, it's not too overwhelming. I think my favorite part of the song is when he does the tribute to the rock and roll maid and she says he's so much nicer than the Marquis de Sade, which isn't really hard, but it probably makes the guy feel good. Again, really cool how they blend the customs of the 18th century with the present, although the chauffeur and the black car is very much from contemporary times. Back then it would have been, as I said, horse and buggy.
Oh, yeah. The rock and roll butler, he's neat and discreet, and he couldn't be any subtler. He also has, yes, the rock and roll maid, who I love how he rhymes maid with Marquis de Sade.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it is. And yes, and to top it all off, he has the rock and roll chauffeur, where he doesn't mind where he roams because his rock and roll chauffeur will get him home. And yeah, when each servant gets introduced, the verse is very quiet, and then it sort of gets loud, and then when he sings how they rock and roll, it really kicks in. So it's almost, I guess, kind of like a progression. Okay.
Next track, Let Them Eat Rock. I was able to find an actual music video for this one. The members of the band are eating a very fancy dinner while the peasants look on hungry. One of them breaks free and asks, "Please, sir, may I have some more rock?" All Oliver Twist. This is one struggle the band is able to understand, so they comply. But it ends rather hauntingly, where there's a dead body lying on the road as traffic goes by. I guess to the point that maybe man cannot live on rock alone. Also, fun fact, the original quotation, "Let them eat cake," is misattributed to Marie Antoinette. People found out, yeah, she didn't say that, and they even make a point of it in that Kirsten Dunst movie that Sofia Coppola did. The more you know. Okay, song.
Okay, so the way it starts off, they say there's people starving. They're dropping dead in the streets. Yo, the lazy slobs, they ain't got a job. They say they ain't got enough to eat. Well, let them eat rock. Why don't you eat rock? But Lord Bendover assures us that he too has felt the pangs of hunger. And the only thing worse than that is the way he feels after a 12-course meal when he feels he's about to burst. And I think if rock and roll had been around in Marie Antoinette's time, this would have been her song, even though, as you pointed out, she never said, let them eat cake. That phrase is attributed to Jean-Jacques Rousseau in 1765, 24 years before the French Revolution. And it was, let them eat brioche.
Yep, brioche.
Yep. And additionally, Marie was only 9 years old in 1765. But, I'm also pretty sure she never said, let them eat rock as well. But
Yeah.
I could imagine her banging her head to this. And the whole thing about let them eat cake or brioche or rock or whatever is like, it just shows that, it's supposed to show that the upper class was definitely out of touch with what was going on at the time.
Yep. Next track, Little Lord Fauntleroy. For this one, I was actually able to find footage of the band performing this song on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Little Lord Fauntleroy is the local fop, and they catch him playing with himself in the garden. And that's really all that happens. Except at the end, they shout the word minuet over and over, which is my mom's nickname for me. And that's really all that happens in this song, even with the rockin' music. Again, not blown away.
Okay, I can give you some more background.
But I know who was blown away.
Who? Oh.
Little Lord Fauntleroy.
Anyway.
Oh, they're filthy too.
Yeah. Little Lord Fauntleroy was written, in 1885 by Francis Hodgson Burnett. So we've got a little anachronism going on here.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was an insanely popular children's book when it came out. Believe it or not, it was considered to be the Harry Potter of its day. You could get the book, but you could also get Little Lord Fauntleroy suits, velvet collars, playing cards, and even chocolates.
There was merch. Huh.
Apparently there was a ton of merch. And the surname Fauntleroy was derived from l'enfant le roi. Child of the King.
Child of the King, yeah.
Yep, and that phrase had been around since the 13th century. Meanwhile, in the 18th century, Lord Bendover does encounter Fauntleroy, who wears his hairs in curls, wears pantaloons, likes French perfume, and sleeping till noon. And then, yes, he catches him in the formal garden, how shall we put it politely, playing pocket pool. But Fauntleroy is polite enough to say, whoops, I beg your pardon. Because you know why? Manners matter. And the whole song kind of has like a start, stop, stutter feel to it, but it still rocks.
Next track, Highfalutin.
Highfalutin.
The version that I found of this song was an unreleased live track.
Okay.
I guess this song is supposed to be about people in the 18th century talking about getting high. I mean, I thought they just did that naturally because of whatever was in the powder they wore on their face and their wigs. But I know some of that was also lead, so maybe not.
Yeah, a lot of deaths.
But he feels highfalutin and like Isaac Newton, which I thought was a very good rhyme. Other than that, I didn't find anything remarkable about the song.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this might be the Duc Distortion on vocals, and he's lauding it over you because he has the divine right to do so, according to him. He's got a stiff upper lip and his nose in the air, and he insists on the best because he's...
Highfalutin.
Thank you. I had to look up the definition of that word, and Webster's defines it as pretentious or fancy. And yes, once again, it just rocks very hard.
Next track, Rabble Rouser. I watched the music video, and boy, did they get the yellowed teeth right. Those extreme close-ups were rough to look at. And if
kind of like Austin Powers?
Yeah, and dude, if those are your real teeth, please go to the dentist. It looks like the music video takes place at a mental health facility where the staff keep an eye on patients who believe they are in ye olden times. And the story of this song is falling for a baddie who makes him split his pants with how aroused he is. But then they talk about revolution, and he calls them a rabble rouser, and that's it. But I do like how in the video he's inspired enough to break free, but that's all I enjoyed.
Yeah, the rabble rouser doesn't know his place. He knows not what he does. Why can't he do like he's been shown? But oh no, he's talking about revolution, which I'm assuming is the American one. And I gotta say, when the band performed this live, Lord Bendover rolled his R's quite impressively,
Okay.
which I can't. I can't. Rebel rouser. He did a lot better than I did.
Next track, Who's Who of Love. This was another film concert bootleg, but the audio quality was better. However, with no enunciation, I couldn't really understand a word. And then I found out, oh, their teeth really are that yellow, but it's in comparison to the white face paint. I couldn't hear any of the words. Even though it rocked, the music did sweep me away enough to appreciate that part of it since the song was meh.
Well, there was a lady who's caught our Lord's eye at a social function. He assumes she's high class in her gown of satin and patent leather shoes, and she does look well bred, and her aunt is a chaperone. She looks descended from nobility and like she has a pedigree, so he puts her in his Who's Who of Love. Now, here's the thing. Who's Who is a reference work of contemporary prominent people. In Britain, it's been published annually since 1849, so again, another anachronism. But other countries who have Who's Who's are, of course, the United States, Canada, France, New Zealand, Scotland, and Japan. And the thing is, like, the music in this song sounds awfully familiar. And I know I keep saying, like, they lean hard on AC/DC, but I just can't put my finger on who it reminds me of, and it just is driving me nuts.
Next track, We're Finished with Finishing School. The clip I found this time was when the band performed on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson.
I saw that one, yep.
I like how the opening is a solemn march as if finishing school will lead to their execution. Then it kicks into high gear. And I do like how all the members sing the title to collectively say they're done. Not even the teachers and parents want them there anymore. I think of all their songs, this one rocked the most, especially when the guitar player went ape at the end. And I like how when they talk, they stay in character with a fop voice. Not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, the lads are not behaving properly. They're hanging out, skipping school. They don't care about etiquette or balancing books on their heads. But they also insist that their mothers did not raise fools. Thus, they're finished with finishing school. Their matron is powerless. She insists they work on their Latin declension, and I had to look that up. And declension involves altering words to show grammatical case, number, or gender. Now, here's the thing. Nouns, adjectives, and adverbs are declined, whilst only verbs are conjugated. Meanwhile, matron is decreeing, but they decline. And yes, even the studio version sounds off with that martial drum beat, and then just kicks in the high gear and does not stop.
Next track, Boudoir. I like those opening chords. It's the most melodious they've sounded. I think their higher register is here to convey how heavenly this woman's body is. It sounds like something that would have played at the Bronze in Buffy. Can you hear it?
I kind of can, yeah.
But then the way they growl the word boudoir, I'm immediately turned off. And the way he suddenly goes, oh, here we are. He's not even trying to hide that this is all a game. I want to punch him in the face and get out of his boudoir and go find a man who values me. Oh, wait, I already have one, so suck on that. Yeah, this was the part of the album where I started to get more and more pissed.
Well, you know, they are in character.
They're very good at it. They do their job.
Yep, they are the aristocratic animals. So yes, I had to also look up what a boudoir is. It can either be a woman's dressing room, a bedroom, or a private sitting room. And I'm going to go with the latter on this one, as Lord Bendover is enraptured by her beauty, and he invites her to his place, which he knows is not very far. And yeah, he lays it on thick, telling her that none are so radiant by candlelight that shines softly through her hair. And such beauty belongs in his, as they pronounce it, boudoir. And he makes it a point to say that he does have a divan, which is some sort of
sitting
seat.
Yeah.
And etchings that he feels are quite fetching. And this is the first slow song on the collection. It's okay. I kind of like it better when they're rocking, though I suppose if you are trying to woo someone into your boudoir, a slower tempo is appropriate.
I guess, yeah. Next track, Luncheon. I re-listened to this when Dad gave me his CD. A teeny tiny bell rings and the boys growl,
Luncheon!
It reminds me of a quotation from Hell of a Boss where Prince Stolas once said, fun is free, but we can afford nice things. The gist is you don't have to care about what attributes you have or lack when you're rich, so if you excuse me, I'm going to...
Luncheon.
But for me, the song just dragged, and I wanted him to stop rubbing his ego in my face, and it made me legitimately angry. I wanted to shove that luncheon right up his ass. I get too caught up in it. I get too pissed.
You do.
Yeah, I don't find it enjoyable. I get legitimately angry.
But it's a parody.
I know, it's a very good parody.
Too good, I guess.
Yeah, too good.
Luncheon, a formal midday meal as part of a meeting or for entertaining a guest.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's party of one, Lord Bendover and no one else.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have lunch whilst he has luncheon.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get a lunch break whilst our Lord has all day. They're sucking on milkshakes while he's sipping on Chardonnay. And yes, before the rocking begins, a lunch bell is rung, and it does appear periodically throughout that song.
Like, are you guys going to show up and get your food?
Yeah, get it before it's gone.
Yeah. Next track, Little Rickshaw Boy. The fop goes to the east and finds a rickshaw boy to take him everywhere. It's poking fun at how highfalutin and racist the upper crust were and still are, not to mention clueless. And poor little rickshaw boy ends up biting the dust. Good job of poking fun of how rich people are so out of their depth they don't realize, but continue to be assholes anyway because that's all they know how to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lord Bendover does find that he does have to go to Hong Kong as his Far East investments are in danger of folding. So yes, he hires a sickly little rickshaw boy who can hardly move, and the rickshaw stalls, and our Lord suffers great inconvenience, but he does eventually make it to the bank. Whereupon the poor rickshaw boy collapses in a puddle of mud and filth and dies, to which our Lord just looks at them and says, "You're fired." And I think the thing is, if the rickshaw boy was running as fast as Jackie Kick-Asses is drumming, it's no wonder he expired.
Yeah.
Especially at the end when the band kicks it into like a very fast punk beat, and it's faster than what's going on in the past 2 minutes. And the one thing this song reminded me of was the Seinfeld episode where Kramer and Newman they find this rickshaw and they just decide, hey, we can make some money pulling people around the streets of New York. Well, who are we going to get to pull it? They get this homeless guy who just takes off with it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, do you think he's coming back? I don't know.
No.
Eventually they find it. And how are we going to get it back? Well, we don't need the two of us to pull it. One of us can pull and one of us can ride.
And Newman pulls it, right?
Rock, paper, scissors. Kramer has to pull Newman.
Oh.
And they're going up a hill. And Kramer just collapses, and all you see is Newman rolling down the hill.
I forgot about that episode. Oh my god. Next track, Matron. I like this guy's singing voice way better. Why didn't they let him sing more on the album? I think he suits the courtly vibe better, and I would have enjoyed the whole album more. The once most prominent courtesan in the kingdom has gotten old.
How dare she?
Which is unfortunate because, yeah, at that time, if you didn't have a busty rack and grew to be an old biddy, nobody cared about you anymore. Except this guy. He's sad to see what happened to her, and he might be in love with her and he wants her. Which, good for you, dude. This was the song I enjoyed most on the album. Why couldn't the rest of it be like this, Dad?
I don't know, but this is Count Basie favoring us with a ballad.
He's very good.
And when I saw them live, the Count managed to sing this song and sneer at the audience.
At the same time?
Yes.
That's impressive.
Very, very impressive. I was surprised when he stepped up to the microphone. So Matron was once the world's most famous courtesan. Ladies would wait in line to wait on her, and princes and kings loaded up her fingers with diamond rings. But time goes on, courtesans get older, the bloom is off the rose, and now our lady has achieved the status of matron. But the Count is still in love with her. He always has been, possibly from afar. And maybe, just maybe, she'll fall in love with him. And it starts off as a ballad, then it just kicks in the high gear, but then it goes back into being a ballad. Very well executed.
Next track, which is the title of the album, Cream of the Crust. My first note, fucking hell, this guy again. This song is about fellatio, cream pies, oral, however you want to call it. All I can say is, ladies, why would you want to with a man whose teeth look like that? You're gonna get a disease. And I realized as I was writing that, oh my god, I didn't even think about how common STDs must have been back then with the lack of dental care and improper hygiene. Ugh. And he wants to do it in a barn where there's mud and hay and animal feces everywhere. Where's the constable? Get this lech away from me. It doesn't feel horny. It feels gross and I hate it.
Yes, they were not big on hygiene back in that day. And the thing is, if like I've read the book Shogun,
Yes.
and it has the big contrast between what hygiene was in England and what it was in Japan.
Right.
And Blackthorn's just saying these people, wait, you people take baths every day?
Mm-hmm.
That's sick. Aren't you going to get like diseases and anything? And they were all wondering, what the hell are you talking about? How often do you take a bath? Maybe once a month. Oh, that explains a lot. I mean, there were things like if the ladies had those gowns, those big gowns, and they're walking down the street.
Yeah.
If they had to relieve themselves,
Oh.
they just did it right then and there whilst they were walking because.
Then it's trickling down your leg.
Yeah, anyway.
Thank God for modern plumbing.
Yeah, so anyway, yes, cows, cream, milking, squeezing. Yep, this is a dirty song that I believe AC/DC could have written, and I bet they're kicking themselves that they didn't come up with this. Lord Bendover don't want half and half. He wants it unhomogenized.
Oh, Jesus. Dad.
That's what he sings in the song.
Yeah.
But however, our Lord mistakenly sings about taking a cow by the balls because it's a cow.
Oh, yeah, it's a cow, not a bull.
Unless it's like udders, you know.
Yeah, the udder's a big bull with the cylinders coming out of it. Yeah.
And it is a very sleazy, nasty, unhygienic rocker. And every time I hear it, I cannot get the disgusting image of crusted cream out of my head.
Ew.
Most unpleasant. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's. Next track. I've got my ascot and my dicky. I wrapped up the rest of the album all in one day because I just wanted to get it over with. I can't understand what he's saying, but he's probably referring to something stuck in his naughty bits. Or his tie did get stuck in his shirt, which is basically what the title translates to. Thank God this song was quick. I had no patience anymore.
Yes, it seems Lord Bendover is caught in a sticky sartorial situation. See the title.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you out there who are wondering, a dicky is a starch detachable insert used to simulate the front of a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember in Peter Pan in the cartoon where the kids drew on the fathers?
Oh, yeah.
That's
his front shirt,
that's what that is. And so what it was it's attached to the shirt collar, and then it's tucked into the waistcoat or cummerbund.
Mm-hmm.
And the name comes from Cockney slang, which was dicky dirt, which denoted a shirt.
Oh.
The song is punk as all get out, and you spell it Punque. It's like charging at 100 miles an hour, and it's also less than 2 minutes long.
Next track, Concubine. Just a small town girl living in a lonely oh, wait, wrong song. But given the time period, they might have been diddling little girls back then. So, yeah, this is a parody of soft rock ballads where guys are singing about their girls. This guy is either in love or he doesn't have what the internet likes to call post-nut clarity.
Do I even want to know what that is?
Well, it's when you're all hot and bothered, you do the deed, and suddenly your brain's all clear, and you realize...
I can think again.
Well, more so to quote Joe Bluth, I've made a huge mistake. Now, this guy's either going to snap out of it or it'll be the real thing. If it was the main singer, it'd be the former. But for this guy, it might be the latter. So mazel tov to you, pal, I guess.
I wasn't able to find out who's singing lead on this one because it's done in falsetto.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Lord Bendover.
So it might be Count Basie?
Could be him or could be the Duke. Jackie does not sing. He just plays the drums, as all good drummers should do. Anyway, whoever it is, they've bought themselves a concubine who is just barely old enough to eat solid foods. She's sitting in a penthouse suite with diamonds on her fingers and high-heeled shoes on her feet. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I'm trying to give him the benefit of doubt, our gentleman is waiting for her to become of age. So it's going to be a long wait. And in doing my research, I found out there were also male concubines who were called, one would be called a concubinus.
Or like a gigolo.
I guess. Yeah. Now, way back in the 1700s, men were encouraged to take up concubines as an alternative to prostitution, and that way prevent the spread of venereal diseases.
Oh, sure.
You just had your lady on the side.
Your side piece.
Yep, and you knew where they had been.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm not making up this word, concubinage was also encouraged by fathers to sons, so that way the sons would not have to marry, thereby depleting the accumulation of family wealth.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it was like, hey, son, here's a woman for you. You don't have to marry her, so she ain't getting any of your fortune. And the thing with concubines at that time was you always made sure that they were a class lower than you.
But what if the concubine got pregnant?
Then the children were considered bastards.
Oh, yeah, they're not getting anything.
No,
That's
they
right.
are not getting anything. So this is quite a disturbing ballad.
Yes. Final track. Everybody's equal. This feels like as close to social consciousness as these guys could get. Like, they're rich people who are trying to grasp the concept of class solidarity, but they fall short and still end up being sarcastic and demeaning. It's like that song from Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog, everyone's a hero in their own way, you and me, but mostly me and you. And then this guy, for a brief moment in the song, he sounded like a Southern Bible Belt preacher for a bit, as he's talking about there are some poor women who are beautiful. Again, he's nearly there, but he still has a lot of work to do. Still, it's very period accurate.
It is.
It's like if you took these guys and were like, hey, see this book in the future? The Communist Manifesto? One day, it's going to be big. And they can't wrap their head around it.
So Lord Bendover asks us to think of others. If you see a poor man slaving in a ditch, giving off a stench that makes you sick, don't spit on him.
Are these the people who put together, don't they know it's Christmas? Are these the people that put, is this Bono? Is this Bono? Are these the people who put together Live Aid?
Could be. Thank God. Thank God it's them instead of you. Something like that.
Yeah,
His
yeah.
line. Yeah, anyway, that man in the ditch can't help it if he's poor and you're rich. So throw him a penny and remember that everybody's equal to a greater or lesser degree.
Yeah.
And also, there are beautiful women who are born poor and they're out on the street trying to make ends meet as best they can. But remember, they ain't no different from your daughter or possibly mother. And as a matter of fact, they're considered better lovers. And the line, everybody's equal, some more than others, very Animal Farm.
Oh, yes. Very Animal Farm.
And it just all closes with a blazing guitar solo by Duke Distortion.
Overall, this was a cool concept. You know, heavier rock while wearing period costumes, taking rock songs and putting an 18th century spin on them. Great idea. However, some of these songs fell short for me, and other times they got so in character and sold it so well, I was legitimately angry. Like I was thinking in my head, where's the guillotine? Viva la revolution. So, if your hyperfixations are heavy rock and 18th century history, give this a listen. If not, go right ahead and skip.
I wish you could have seen them live. I think you would have.
No, thank you. No, I'm good. I am so good, Dad.
Okay. And I think I
would have thrown beer bottles at them.
Again. And again, I said at the beginning, the Upper Crust knew of what they sang because they definitely did their homework with the various subject matters. But that wouldn't mean a thing if they couldn't rock.
If they ain't got that swing?
Yeah, that too. And the thing is, they really could. And I think the thing is, it's like, it doesn't take too many songs for you to get the concept of, okay, this is what they do. So I think, like, they do have a number of albums out there, but really, Cream of the Crust is, like, all anyone needs. I mean, it's 18 songs, and even then, I think it probably could have been maybe a dozen at the very most.
Makes you want to eat, like, a crusty dessert pastry.
But, I mean, you can find some of the songs online. I mean, I think the best one to do was We're Finishing School from The Late Show with Craig Ferguson.
The Late Late Show.
The Late Show, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's definitely on YouTube.
God, I miss Craig.
Who does it now?
It used to be James Corden.
Oh, do they even have a late show now anymore, or do they just?
Well, they have the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, but I don't know about the Late Late Show. I mean, Stephen took over for Dave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously the late one came on after.
Yeah, but I don't know who hosts it anymore.
Now, is Jon Stewart, is he back with the Daily Show full time or just a couple of nights a week?
Just once a week.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz, because remember, the more you interact with the YouTube video, the greater chance we have of appearing on the YouTube homepage. If you follow me on social media, I post the episodes there. If you're friends with Dad, tell him what you want to listen to, and he'll send you an email right to your inbox. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. We'll be back next time with another tribute album to nitpick and gripe about. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Sire, the peasants are revolting.
You said it, they stink on ice.